Okay, I need to shoot a quick video here about the parable of money taught in The Wizard of Oz. I'm going to cover a whole lot of stuff here because our currency is being debased at a very fast rate. So, the original Wizard of Oz, the book, was to teach kids about how money is made. And it's called the funniest story children's book ever published. It wasn't meant to be that way. It was meant to be a parable to teach kids how money was made. But then he sold so many of them, he decided to make other books about it and cash in on it. He ended up writing 10 books. So let's talk about the protagonist and antagonist in the story. So there's Dorothy and Toto who are going through the magical world of Oz, and they get picked up in a house. And then this house falls on this witch. And the witches, the evil witches, represent the big eastern and western banks. Now, I learned this in a mainline school at Rice University in an economics class. We studied it for a whole day. We read the book and we studied it. The professor thought that the evil witches were two presidents, but I believe that they were banks, the big evil banks. And then the weak witches of the north and south, the good witches, were the independent banks. So anyway, what causes an initial crash? Generally, it's housing prices drop, and that's been this way for hundreds of years. If the value of your house, if nobody has any money, your house is worth, it's most people's biggest asset, it's worth virtually nothing. So she lands and kills the one witch, and then the other witch comes to grab her assets. Now, in the book, she's wearing silver slippers, not ruby slippers. They changed that in the movie. So the other witch is going to try to grab up her assets, which are silver, so she can even get stronger. And then the good witch says, no, you put the silver on your feet, and then you get on the yellow brick road, which is gold, and she can't touch you either. So if you got silver and gold, the banks can't touch you. Then let's look at some of the other protagonists. So the Cowardly Lion is William Jennings Bryan. He railed against the money system, but ran for president, but never got anything done. The Scarecrow is the American farmer. Now, it isn't that he didn't have the brain. The average American farmer at the time was probably overall smarter than any other demographic at the time. The Munchkins were the stupid city folk who are happy as long as they're fed. The Tin Woodsman represents oil. And what is the very first thing when they come up on him? He says oil. So he's industry. The Flying Monkeys are the American Indians, because at the time this book was written, they were like the Muslims of the time. They were the scary boogeyman out there because the West had not really been closed. So the good witch says, well, you need to go talk to Oz. So Oz represents the president. A lot of bluster, but not a lot of power. And he went to the Emerald City, which is Washington, D.C. And before you went there, if you'll remember in the story, she goes to this poppy field as she's approaching Oz, and she falls asleep. Well, that was an allusion to the British Empire making war against China to make them buy heroin from them. And as she goes, and the thing that seals the deal, there's several things that seal the deal. This is what he's talking about. But she goes through 7 halls and 3 flights of stairs, which indicate the silver crisis of 1873. And I want to talk a little bit of what else happened. So the wicked witch is trying to get her, and at the end, what kills the wicked witch? It's liquidity, water. So how do you break a recession or depression? You inject liquidity in it. So the water kills the wicked witch. And I got some reading things I'd like for you to read. Now here's a thing about the Rothschilds. Now the Rothschilds actually own all the Federal Reserve banks. The Federal Reserve is not real. It's not owned by Americans. It's owned by international bankers. Some of my papers here fell off. So I'd like for you to go over, here's some of your reading material. The Creature from Jekyll Island, that covers how they created the Federal Reserve during 1913 in the middle of the night, and it was passed in Congress. Everybody was at Christmas vacation. The energy non-crisis, It's in like its 6th printing. Diary of an Economic Hitman. And I want you to check out the Pike Mazzini letter that outlined the 3 world wars. And the Rothschilds helped the Germans get Lenin out of Switzerland and put him in Russia to help destabilize Russia. Now the Germans backed it up because they wanted the one front removed. So the Federal Reserve Act was signed in 1913 by Woodrow Wilson, and they had to kill about 500 people to get it done. Then a big thing happened. So towards the end of World War II, the Bretton Woods Agreement, it was agreed that the U.S. would be the world reserve currency, and that as long as they didn't print up too much money, and you could always switch it out for silver or gold. So the French called them on it, and that's when Nixon took us off the gold standard. Let me get some of these papers that have blown away here. And while I'm talking, so you can go on to YouTube and punch in Nixon taking us off the gold standard, and in it he's saying that we're going to go back on to what we never did. And then a thing happened right then. So there was this, the Arab oil crisis came, and the oil pipeline in Alaska was just really getting up and running. But up there they found this enormous find called Gull Island. Well, a thing was hatched between Nixon, the Rockefellers, and Henry Kissinger, and he went to all the Arab Emirates. And remember, at the time, we were also friends with Iran, and as such, we said, well, we'll keep all this oil that we know we have off the market, and we'll buy from y'all, and we'll sell you planes and tanks and whatever, so you can do your little wars, because that helps create instability, order out of chaos, which is how the Luciferians that run the world do things. They create a problem, and that they actually created, and then they provide a solution to get you where they want you to go. And and they said, well, all you have to do is 10% of your profits, you have to buy treasury bills. That way we can export our growing empire, our financial empire. And also, you have to trade oil in dollars, and that helps prop up the currency. So the petrodollar was born at that time. Now, the petrodollar has gone away a little bit. Russia and China, if they want to deal in things other than the petrodollar, we can't stop them. But that's the main reason we destabilized and got rid of Muammar Gaddafi, because he started trading gold. And we also went in and dropped the hammer on Saddam Hussein the second time, because he was going around the sanctions and using gold. Now, this is an old dollar bill from 1957. Okay. And here's an Eisenhower silver piece. It's a dollar's worth of silver. It's an ounce. So at today's price, it's worth 20-something dollars. Now, this 1957 dollar, and here's a current dollar. If you were to shrink it in size to what it's actually worth compared to this $57, it would be, I'm trying not to exaggerate here, it would be about that much. It's inflation. It's the hidden tax that you all pay every year. So let's go over, and these are pretty neat books. You can get them at historical places, and it's for basically for people's birthday to give them to you. So here's one from 47, 74, and 99. Let's go over the cost and how it's gone up. A new house cost $6,650 in 47. In 74, it was $34,900. And in 99, it was $131,700. And we're in 2020, and a new house, I'm guessing the average cost is 200,000. Then let's go over the cars. 12, 9, and 74, 35, 21, 2, and 99. I'm going to say an average new car now is 30,000. Now, here's some interesting things. So, the food hasn't gone up as much. It has gone up, but it hasn't gone up like anything else. The reason being is the food is subsidized because we have to eat. So corn is subsidized heavily. The agricultural industry is heavily subsidized because we have to eat. So they're still getting you. So in 47 gallon of vitamin D milk was 78 cents per gallon. 74, $1.56, $2.91. I think it's pretty much holding right now. I don't drink milk, but so the food is held down specifically for that reason. Now, let's talk about our current economy. The stock market is basically at an all-time high. This is the middle of the coronavirus. And it's going to be pumped up by the Federal Reserve. That's the only thing that's up. By the way, if you go to timbosplace.com on page 1 right here, timbosplace.com, I've got everything about the Wizard of Oz even expanded on at a good website hookup there. So unemployment is probably at 23%. They just initiated new lockdowns in California and New York City. I think New York City has probably lost more than half of its restaurants, and now they're going to make it outside dining. Well, who's going to dine outside in the middle of winter? The answer is nobody. So they're going to lose there's only going to end up with 15-20% of the restaurants in New York City. And those will be the big drive-thrus, McDonald's, Wendy's, such. The local ones will all, 95 to 98% of them are all going to go away and not come back. Let's look at the rioting and the lack of travel. Minneapolis 2 years ago made $8 billion in tourism. They're going to be basically $0 for tourism for the next 10 or 11 years. The same thing with Portland, Seattle. Here in San Antonio, we make, I didn't even look up the number. I'm going to guess it's $15-16 billion in travel downtown, and downtown's ghost town. I went down there. So they're pumping up. The only thing that looks good is the stock market, and basically 6 stocks. Amazon. Bezos has made a killing since all this has happened. They're buying assets. They're buying toxic assets. The Federal Reserve is just buying stock to prop it up. And here's the deal. They say, well, interest rates are at 0. Well, yeah, it's almost to 0. Now, if you're buying a new home, which is getting you further in debt, you can get, whatever, 3 or 4%. But if you have a credit card, the banks are still getting that money at basically nothing, and they're charging you loan shark fees, 22% interest. And not only do we have over 20% unemployment, there's probably another 20% of people that are underemployed. So we're nearing the end game here. I don't know what's going to go till it stops, but we're not too far from the big crash. And get ready, buy some food, buy some guns, bye. And please like and subscribe. I'm out.